Hey there, Agile Adventurer. Just a quick question. What if, for the price of a fancy coffee or half a pizza, you could unlock over 700 hours of the best Agile content on the planet? That's audio, video, e-courses, books, presentations, all that you can think of. But you can also join live calls with world-class practitioners and hang out in a flame war-free and AI slop-clean Slack with the sharpest minds in the game. Oh, and yes, you get direct access to me, Vasco, your Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. No, this is not a drill. It's the Scrum Master Toolbox membership. And it's your unfair advantage in the Agile world. So if you want to know more, go check out scrummastertoolbox.org/membership. That's scrummastertoolbox.org/membership. And check out all the goodies we have for you. Do it now. But if you're not doing it now, let's listen to the podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our TGIF and Product Owner episode this week with Stuart Tipples. Hey, Stuart. Welcome back.
Hey, Vasco. Thanks. Good to be back.
Absolutely. Great to have you back because we're going to jump into the product owner pool. We'll talk about great product owners in a minute because it's important that we highlight some of the great product owner examples out there. But first, share with us what might have been potentially the worst product owner anti-pattern you've witnessed in your career.
So I don't think this is going to be particularly original. I think this is a challenge that the many Scrum Masters and many Scrum teams will encounter, to the point that I've seen it so many times. Again, I kind of given it a name for when I'm describing it as an anti-pattern, but it's one I call the ghost with the most. This particular example that I'm thinking of comes back to a customer portal team that we talked about earlier. So lots of edge cases. So legacy systems, numerous sort of integrations, APIs. It's like a Marvel crossover event, right? Like everybody who could be involved is there and they're involved. The big challenge was, if we're looking at sort of product owner anti-pattern behavior, they were just never there. Not only were they never there, but you couldn't get time in them when you wanted to sort of follow up. And they'd been allowed to sort of continue that behavior and it wasn't addressed. So sprint planning would happen and then they disappear. That's if they showed up to sprint planning. There were quite often instances where a sprint backlog was presented, a half-assed sprint goal was sort of coined, and that was it. Like, it was just shared, can't make it, crack on. The biggest, I think, a sort of impact of that sort of behavior and what it does to the team. First of all, it's frustrating not being able to sort of reach out and get someone's input when you need it, particularly a vital role like the product owner. But what you see, and what I saw in that instance, is you'll get members of the team step up and try and fill that product owner role. Quite often, if you have a business analyst in your team, depending on the type of work, it's generally that person because they have the most sort of crossover in the skill set. But they've got their own job to do as well, right? So they tend to overload and it becomes very stressful for them. You risk burnout. It has very real impact and it's not great at all. So as I say, sprint planning, if they were there, great, but they would disappear. Sometimes they wouldn't be there. The amount of times this particular PO would delay backlog refinement sessions to the point of they would never happen. So the backlog was just a mess of, it was little more than a to-do list, right? It had very little sort of understanding of the value.
So how did you tackle this? Because this isn't an easy situation for a Scrum Master.
It's not, and it does, I think, in my experience, it requires a very direct, open and honest discussion. How I sort of responded to it, I sort of got to a point where I let it slip and slide to a point I thought, right, I really have to do something about this now, because if I don't, it's going to get to a point where we can't recover from this. It's a very direct, open, honest one-to-one. And I laid cards out on the table and sort of outlined how this was affecting the team. I showed very real instances where people were having to sort of pick up their workload, and I really didn't think that was fair. And more to the point, it's going to impact delivery of the product and the build of the product itself because they're spending that time. And I just asked them, after outlining all that, before letting them respond, my response was then to sort of say to them, look, what's driving this? Like, is there something I can help with? Is there something I, as a Scrum Master, can do for you? i.e., I'm not going to do your job for you, but is there something I can help with? Is there something broader that I can lighten the load on? Are the timings of the events wrong? Like, am I putting, have I scheduled sprint planning on a day that you have childcare issues? Is there something going on?
Yeah.
Sort of.
So how did they respond?
At first, it was very closed, tight, and defensive. Which again, it's human nature, right? It's not unexpected, but again, this is one of those instances where, as a Scrum Master, you kind of have to learn to be comfortable, to sort of sit in that uncomfortable space, keep your emotion out of it. You're dealing, in this instance, I'm dealing with, I've got data to support, I've got sort of factual evidence, anecdotal evidence. There's a strong case here of how this behavior and these anti-patterns are really impacting the team. By being willing to sit in that uncomfortable situation and sort of not succumb to filling the silence either, which is difficult for me because I'll tend to talk a lot, but allowing for that silence and allowing for them to then be the one to break that silence. It transpired that, yes, they had issues with, in this instance, it was childcare issues. They also opened up to me. They weren't happy in the role. They weren't happy doing what they were doing. And they were sort of looking for opportunities externally. And I'd sort of resolved it. And we came to an agreement where it's like, well, tell me the clashes. We'll go to the team and we will re-agree the schedule. We'll make it work. You are part of this team, so it has to be a time and a slot that works for the team. And in terms of not being happy, I was like, again, just let's you and I set up regular one-to-ones that aren't necessarily about the work stuff. And if you're unhappy with the role,
then just move on.
Just talk to me about it and tell me what's making you unhappy. You're absolutely right. Do something about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes there's no solution, right? People just need to move on, and that's fine too.
What I will say in that instance, they didn't. They actually kind of turned it around and did that bit of work and went on to a new bit of work that I think got their juices flowing a little bit more. So
that's good to hear.
But
that's good to hear.
I think, again, the key lesson I picked up at that time, and one I sort of always say to sort of Scrum Masters that might be a little sort of earlier in their career, is get comfortable with that silence and get comfortable with discomfort, because
Absolutely.
You will have many of those discussions over time.
Absolutely. Now, there aren't only bad POs. There are also some amazing POs out there. So, Stuart, share with us the best PO you've ever worked with. How did they work?
I've been fortunate. I have worked with some fantastic POs over the time, particularly in my time in BT. Some really, really, really great POs. I've worked with. I'm not going to name them. We'll call them Mark, should we say, for this discussion. It was a team that were building APIs for a new customer hub for wholesale customers. Sounds super dry, right? In terms of work for the team. And truthfully, it was. It wasn't the sort of sexiest product you could be working on a building. But what made him great was he was always available. Like, almost detrimentally to himself, he was always available. Didn't micromanage. He had very clear office hours that he would be available to the team. He was mindful of our sort of our team wasn't co-located and geographically time zones were different. So he built his office hours to be available to everyone. So it wasn't the most convenient time for him, but he made sure he was available. Most importantly, I would say he showed up. He was at every Agile event, and some of the non-Agile events, right? He showed up, and they showed up ears open and ego parked. From what made him excel as a product owner, I would say something that can be lacking, but he told stories. He didn't bring requirements. Storytelling, I think, in this particular sort of way of working as Agilists, is huge, right? We all need to be better at it. Our team needs to be better at it. We need to tell a story to engage our stakeholders. We need
to create clarity as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's how you get people interested as well, right? That's the other thing. Like, if you tell a good story, people want to see how it ends. So that was something they were very good at, that it was stories, not just requirements, which just supplied all the context that sort of the devs needed to go away and make the best decisions.
And storytelling also allows the team to come up with the actual technical implementation details instead of the product owner kind of taking that responsibility and figuring out the details and then never telling the why, right? Like never telling the story.
100%. But again, it was one of those instances as well where we talked about it earlier, where that sort of behavior then sort of became a bit contagious. So we're digressing a little here, but during reviews, because the product they were building and the API work they were doing, it's very dry, it's very boring, it's very difficult to make that engaging during a demo or a review. But the team started to bring in storytelling to those demos and reviews, and it just made my heart sing, because I can't tell you how many dry, boring. I'm not, by no means am I a technologist. I'm not, a technical scrum master, as it were. I've been on demo reviews where it's just live code being sort of discussed, and it's just like, if this doesn't work for me, then I know it's not working for like 80% of this audience. You've lost us. But yeah, it's a great example of sort of that sort of behavior, that positive behavior being contagious and sort of taken elsewhere.
Yeah, that's a great lesson to take from this, right? Like that behavior that has positive impact becomes contagious, and that creates a positive spiral of good behavior that kind of spreads throughout the team and the organization.
It spreads, and before you know it, because you know as well as I know, demos get a little competitive between teams at sort of scale. So then all of a sudden other teams start picking it up. And before you know it, it's great. It's great.
Yeah. Especially if you have multiple teams doing the demo at the same time with the same audience, you're going to create that kind of
you want that one-upmanship,
motivation, right? Like, and then people really want to do a good job. And if you already have the basis like storytelling and being able to present the why and the impact and so on, then it gets really good, really fast.
Yeah, 100%.
Stuart, it's been a pleasure. I mean, it's been an amazing week of insights and stories. I invite everybody to go and listen to all of the episodes. There's plenty of great stories in this week's episodes. But we're getting close to the end. Before we go, where can people find out more about you and the work that you're doing?
So the best place to sort of see what I'm doing is through my blog, newrebelscrum.com. Do go find me on LinkedIn. Please reach out and connect. Most importantly for LinkedIn, my ask is get involved. I do not want to just be that guy who's just posting stuff and reaching out. I want discussions. I thrive on discussions. I want to interact with.
All right, I definitely have to get you to our Slack, because there's a lot of cool discussions that are happening, and would love to get your take on them.
I am 100% in. I am game. So yeah, that's probably the best places. I'm on all the usual sort of socials. I think you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter as well, where it's all sharing content from the blog though. So yeah, but it's a great place to reach out and talk and discuss and call me out if you think what I'm saying is absolute bullshit.
Productive conflict. That's what I would say. Stuart, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for your generosity with your time and your knowledge.
Vasco, it's been awesome. Thank you very much for asking me. It's been a thrill, and thanks for again.
All right, I hope you liked this episode. But before you hit next episode, here's the deal. This podcast is powered by people like you, the members who wanted more than just inspiration. They wanted real tools and real connection to people who are practicing Agile every day. We're talking access to over 700 hours of Agile Gold, CTO level strategy talks, summit keynotes, live workshops, e-courses, deep dive interviews, books, and if you're into no estimates, we got the pioneers of no estimates in those deep dive interviews as well. Agile business intelligence, creating product visions, coaching your product owner courses, you name it. You'll get invites to monthly live Q&As with Agile pioneers and practitioners, plus a private Slack community, which is free of all of that AI slop you see everywhere, and of course, without the flame wars. It's a community of practitioners that want to learn and thrive together. It's the best place to connect with community and learn together. So if this podcast has helped you before, imagine what you will get from this podcast membership. So head on over to scrummastertoolbox.org/membership and join the community that's shaping the future of Agile. And we have so much for you. So check out all the details at scrummastertoolbox.org/membership, because listening is great, it's important, but doing it together, that's next level. I'll see you in the community Slack. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.